Hi there, and welcome to another edition of I Deal with Neil News Market Update. Let's get right to it. March was an incredible month. Once again, seems like a broken record player of all my commentary on the past months here. But we had a couple firsts actually in the KW Real Estate Board. One, first, the highest number of units sold ever. Came in at 993 units sold in March, and for reference, the 10-year average was 552, so almost double the units sold in March relative to the 10-year average. But again, the highest ever amount of units sold. With that, there's a couple reasons, but one of the reasons is the other first that we had, which was the highest ever number of new listings coming on the system. We had 1,359 new listings coming on, and this was 63% above the 10-year average. So a couple of incredible numbers there. We look at, okay, why did this happen? What happened? And really, as you've probably heard me talk before, the whole idea behind the craziness has been the lack of inventory. So finally we've got some new inventory coming in. And why did this happen? Well, first of all, we're into the spring market, traditionally a time when people will put their homes on the market. And so obviously that happened in huge numbers. And then as well, I think, contributing to the huge numbers was the fact that all of a sudden people were hearing about all of this craziness in January and February, and wow, my neighbor got what? If I'm thinking of selling, well, now's the time. So really those two things contributed to just crazy amount of new inventory in March, and really that kind of led into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was a slight change in the market. Finally we saw a little bit of cracks in some of this craziness that has been going on for the last number of months. Really, for the first time, we saw, if you're familiar with the concept of holds on offers, which I've talked about before, is when a seller says, hey, you know what? I'm not going to look at offers for maybe a week after I list the property for sale. And so what we saw was actually people getting to their hold date and actually not getting offers on their places. And this was something unheard of, certainly in January and February. And what happened then was that we had people having to make a decision. Well, what would they do? Typically they would cancel their listing, relist their house for sale, maybe at a lower price, maybe at a higher price, because they were pricing lower as a strategy, to get multiple offers, that type of thing. And when they didn't get offers on their hold date, they had to rethink things. Some continued status quo, and then from there, some of them still sold their houses, whether they reduced their price, increased their price, or kept status quo. They ended up still selling their house maybe a week later. Others sat. Maybe they priced it too aggressively, considering the market. Lots of their neighbors got the prices they did with the strategy of pricing significantly below the ask or the market value or perceived market value, and then getting that higher price. Well, if the neighbor comes along now and says, okay, well, I want what my neighbor got, but I don't want to price it as low as they did, that would contribute to not getting offers on their hold date. So interesting, certainly the way things played out there. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to confuse things. Still lots of craziness in March, where we saw lots of offers going for, just an incredible amount over the asking price. We did tend to see fewer offers on these hold dates as opposed to January, February, maybe seeing, 10, 15, 20 or more offers on places. Now all of a sudden we were seeing obviously zero offers if they didn't get anything on their hold date, to maybe a more reasonable, 3 to 5, less than 10 type of offers. And that was really more of a common thread, I would say in March for a lot of the offer hold dates. Certainly the ones with the best locations, the most turnkey properties, those ones are always going to get the most, and those ones would still get ones with just crazy amounts of offers and crazy amounts over their asking price. But it was certainly, given how tough it has been for buyers for the last number of months. At least it was a glimmer of hope in March, I would say, for some buyers, just to see that, hey, things changed a little bit in their favor. So, where do we go from here? I mean, who knows? Again, with all of this, I follow all the supposed experts on what they're saying, and certainly the consensus is this can't go on forever with this price increases by such a substantial amount. But nobody really knows. Certainly there's talk of government intervention happening, that type of thing. So if that happens, who knows? All bets are off. I mean, the interest rates are still incredibly low, and so we expect that that will certainly factor in for buyers. But as always, I've attached the the monthly stats below to this email, so you can take a look at those. I'd like to go over just the averages to give you a sense of what's going on that way, and certainly for all average sale price of all properties, we're at 765. So again, just an incredible number, and that's taking into consideration all single detached condos, semis, townhouses, everything. With the single detached, the average sale price was $899, down a little bit from February, where it was up to $910. And wasn't significant enough, to make any, decisions on trends and that sort of thing. But we will watch it moving forward. It is important to note when you look at these stats, I really took the year-over-year stats with a grain of salt this month, because if you keep in mind that the pandemic started the middle of March last year, so we had 2 weeks of last year's March at the end where it was really just an unprecedented time, and so really not much happening during that time period. So I would really kind of throw out those year-over-year numbers for March. But if we continue on, the apartment condos were up a little bit, $423 average sale price, and it's important to note that with the condos, what we're seeing in March, certainly noticeable, was the fact that more buyers started to switch to condos, because all of a sudden they were kind of getting basically bit out of the loop in the freehold world, and so certainly they ended up, although they would like to have bought a freehold unit, really ended up being that they were forced to buy the market and the craziness in the market to start considering condos. I had a number of buyers actually in that boat. So I think we will continue to see the condo market in general just push up a little bit for that reason alone. The townhouses, the freehold townhouses, were up just a little bit at 622, and the semis were down just a little bit at 652. So so that's pretty much all the average sale prices for March there. Again, if you have any questions on any of this, or would like me to dig a little deeper, I'm happy to do so. And with that in mind, it's interesting. For those who are involved in the market, they are pretty aware of the craziness that's been going on. For others who maybe haven't been involved and had no reason, really to pay attention to this craziness, it's interesting. I've talked to some people over the last month where they were kind of shocked, where the numbers were, and I take it for granted because I'm involved in this on a daily basis. What's going on, and that, hey, everybody should know how crazy it is out there, but people don't. So it's something where I would encourage you, if for any reason you want to get an idea of what your place is worth, certainly. Over this amount of time, the prices have just gone up astronomically, and I think you'd be surprised, if not shocked, at what your place might be worth. So if you're interested, you don't even have to be, necessarily wanting to sell or do anything right now, but if you're curious, I've had a couple people reach out that way and just say, hey, what do you think my place is worth? Very easy for me to get in there and kind of give you a ballpark of what's going on that way. So I think that's about it for now. Certainly we'll be monitoring as we move forward what happens in the market here, and we'll keep you up to date next month. But thanks again for all your referrals, family and friends. Really appreciate it. Couldn't do the business that I do without those referrals. So thank you very much. Take care. Bye for now.